Today, I met my ex on the bus and I sat next to him. I tried to talk to him, but apparently he's still angry because I broke up with him to go with Brayan. It's just that he's poor, and Brayan has a motorcycle. Brayan was the love of my life until he got me pregnant and left. Now my ex should take charge, but he doesn't want to. I honestly don't understand why people insist on making life so difficult when the solutions are literally staring them in the face. 2 years ago, I was with Rodrigo, and while he was a nice enough guy, he lacked what I like to call kinetic energy. We would go everywhere on foot or wait for the bus like we were characters in a sad indie movie, and it just felt like my potential was being stifled by his lack of a motor. He didn't have a car, he didn't have a motorcycle, and he seemed perfectly content just walking through life at 3 miles per hour. A woman like me needs to feel the wind in her hair and the vibration of progress beneath her, not the slow rhythm of a pedestrian's pace. That is exactly why I had to make the executive decision to move on when I met Kauã, who everyone in the neighborhood calls Brayan because he just has that fast and furious aura. The first time I heard the roar of his motorcycle, I knew it was a cosmic sign that I was meant for a high-velocity lifestyle. It wasn't that I was being mean to Rodrigo, I was simply following the frequency of the universe, which was clearly humming at the same decibel as Kauã's exhaust pipe. Rodrigo didn't get it, of course, and he looked at me like I'd broken his heart. But honestly, he should have seen it as a motivation to buy a vehicle. Life with Kauã was a whirlwind of leather jackets and speeding through red lights, which is the only way to truly feel alive. He was the absolute love of my life because he understood that a woman's place is on the back of a bike, holding on for dear life. We had a connection that was fueled by premium gasoline and adrenaline, something Rodrigo could never provide with his sturdy walking shoes. I felt like I was finally in the fast lane, leaving all the slow people behind in a cloud of beautiful, smoggy smoke. But then the universe decided to test my strength in the most complicated way possible by making me pregnant. As soon as the 2 lines appeared on the stick, it was like the vibrations of the motorcycle changed, and Kauã started acting very strange and distant. One morning, I woke up and the roar of the engine was gone, and so was Kauã, along with his helmet and his dreams of our future together. I'm pretty sure he didn't actually leave me. He probably just got recruited for a secret racing circuit and couldn't take the risk of a baby in the sidecar. Since I'm a person who believes in balance and logic, I realized that with the motorcycle element gone, I needed to bring back the stability element. It's just basic math. Kauã provided the DNA and the speed, so now someone else needs to provide the structure and the diaper money. That's when I saw Rodrigo on the bus today, and it was clearly a manifestation of my needs being met by the universe. He was sitting there looking suspiciously successful, with a brand-name backpack and a smartphone that didn't even have a cracked screen. I didn't hesitate for a second and sat right down next to him because I knew he was on that specific bus at that specific time just to cross paths with me. I greeted him with a big smile, showing him that I'm a big enough person to forgive him for being boring in the past. He looked a bit shocked, which I interpreted as him being overwhelmed by my glowing pregnancy aura. I decided to get straight to the point because men appreciate directness when it comes to family planning. Rodrigo, guess what? I'm having a baby, I told him, waiting for the joy to hit his face so we could start discussing names. I explained to him that since he was always the responsible one and the good guy, it only makes sense for him to step up and be the father. It's a promotion, really. He's being upgraded from ex-boyfriend to head of household without even having to do the hard work of the first 9 months. I told him that since he clearly still loves me, otherwise he wouldn't be breathing the same bus air as me, he should take charge. The logic is flawless. The baby needs a father who doesn't run away on a bike, and Rodrigo is already right here, conveniently located on my commute. I started telling him about the crib I saw on sale and how we could probably set up a payment plan if he starts saving his bus fare now. I was being so helpful and organized, making sure he knew exactly how he could contribute to this new chapter of our lives. I even offered to let him pick the middle name as long as it sounds good with the last name I've already chosen. Instead of thanking me for this incredible opportunity to have a ready-made family, Rodrigo did something incredibly immature and rude. He literally pulled a pair of high-tech headphones out of his fancy backpack and put them on while I was still explaining the cost of prenatal vitamins. He didn't even say congratulations or thank you, Jessica, for thinking of me in this trying time. He just stared out the window like he was listening to a podcast about how to be a cold-hearted person who hates infants. I am honestly appalled by how much resentment he is still carrying after 2 whole years of being apart. It's so selfish of him to hold a grudge against me just because I chose a motorcycle over his walking habit when there's a literal, innocent life at stake here. He has a brand name backpack and a nice phone, so he clearly has the resources to be a provider, yet he's choosing to be difficult. I left the bus feeling like the victim of a very cruel lack of empathy from a man who used to claim he cared about me. Main story comments. Anonymous user 1 says, so let me get this straight. You dumped him because he was poor, didn't have a bike, got knocked up by a biker who dipped, and now you want the boring ex to pay for a kid that isn't his? You treat fatherhood like a Netflix subscription you can just gift to someone else. Ops reply, it's called retroactive affection. Look it up. DNA is just a tiny detail. What matters is who has the most stable bank account to support the child's future. Anonymous user 2 says, I love how you dumped him for a motorcycle and now you're mad he's on the bus with a nice phone. Are you going to trade up again if you see a guy with a helicopter at the park? Ops reply, I am an entrepreneurial mother looking for the best CEO for my child's life. If a helicopter guy is more responsible, that's just good parenting. Update 1. It has been 3 days since that awkward bus encounter, and I am honestly shocked at how toxic some people can be when you're just trying to be a visionary. I tried to message Rodrigo on every platform possible to send him the link for the luxury stroller I found, but the man has literally blocked me everywhere. It's like he's trying to build a digital wall around his heart and his bank account, which is very suspicious behavior for someone who claims to be the good guy. I had to resort to calling from my aunt's phone just to leave a message letting him know that I've already updated the neighborhood about our reconciliation. I decided that since Rodrigo is being shy about his new role, I should help him out by spreading the good news to everyone we know. I told my mom that we're getting back together for the sake of the baby, and she's already started planning the baby shower with his name on the invitations. I even went as far as calling Rodrigo's mother, who started crying on the phone because she was so confused by the timeline. She asked me if Rodrigo had been cheating on his current girlfriend with me for the last 2 years, and I had to be honest with her. I told her that while there was no physical cheating, Rodrigo has father blood, which is a spiritual connection that transcends time and space. I explained that in my heart, he has always been the father of any child I would ever have, regardless of who provided the initial biological spark. His mother seemed very distressed, probably because she's realizing her son has been keeping such a huge blessing a secret from her. I felt like I was doing a public service by bringing the family together, even if Rodrigo is currently resisting his destiny. To show him how humble and reasonable I am, I sent a link to a slightly less expensive stroller. It's still luxury, but it was on clearance. I wanted him to see that I'm not some gold digger. I'm a woman of the people who is willing to accept a simple $300 carriage for our child. I even added a note saying that I would be willing to forget his rude behavior on the bus if he just apologized and sent the first installment. I figured this was a very fair peace offering that any rational man would jump at. Instead of a thank you or a digital hug, I received a voice note from a man who claimed to be Rodrigo's lawyer friend. This person had the nerve to tell me that I needed to stop harassing Rodrigo and that if I continued to spread false claims about his paternity, there would be legal consequences. I was absolutely floored by the audacity of using professional jargon to avoid a diaper change. It's clear that Rodrigo is just scared of the massive responsibility I'm gifting him, and he's hiding behind his friends. My mom is now telling everyone at the grocery store that her son-in-law is a big shot who has lawyers on speed dial, which is making me look very prestigious. However, it's frustrating because I can't actually access the lawyer's money yet to buy the organic baby onesies I've been eyeing. I don't understand why Rodrigo is making this so complicated when I'm literally handing him a family on a silver platter. Most men have to work for years to get a child, and I'm giving him one that's already half-baked and ready to go. I spent most of yesterday crying because the stress of being a co-parent with someone so stubborn is really taking a toll on my skin. I had to do a face mask and listen to some manifestation frequencies on YouTube just to realign my chakras after that lawyer audio. It's obvious to me now that Rodrigo is just testing my loyalty to see if I'll stick by him even when he's being a total jerk. I'm not going to give up on him because I know that deep down, beneath the noise-canceling headphones, he's crying out for a baby to support. I even went to the park where we used to walk and sat on our old bench for 3 hours hoping he would intuitively know I was there and come to apologize. He didn't show up, which probably means he was busy at work earning the money that will eventually belong to our household. I took a selfie and posted it with the caption, "Waiting for the king to reclaim his throne. #family. First #blessed." And I tagged him using a dummy account. I'm sure he saw it and felt a deep sense of longing for the life he's currently pretending to reject. The neighbors are all asking when the wedding is, and I just tell them that we're keeping it low-key because of his high-profile job. It's important to maintain an image of success, even if the person providing that success is currently being a total ghost. I can feel the father blood in him from across the city, and it's only a matter of time before he realizes he can't run from the truth. A baby needs a name, and Rodrigo has a perfectly good one that would look great on a birth certificate. I am convinced that his current girlfriend is probably a government plant or a spy sent to distract him from his true purpose in life. There's no other reason why a man would choose a random woman over a pregnant ex who is offering him the chance to be a hero. I'm going to keep pushing because a mother's love is like a bulldozer. It doesn't stop for red lights or lawyers. Tomorrow I'm going to try a more direct approach because clearly the digital world is too small for our giant destiny. Update 1 comments. Anonymous user 1 says you're going to get sued for defamation so fast your head will spin and you'll probably think the judge is just jealous of your aura. You told his mother he's the father? That is a whole new level of unhinged. Ops reply, who has nothing to hide has nothing to fear. And Rodrigo is currently shaking with fear, so he clearly hides a lot of love for me. It's not defamation if it's my personal truth. Anonymous user 2 says, Father blood? Is that like a blood type or a spell you cast? You're literally stalking this man and calling it, giving him a family. Ops reply, it's a spiritual DNA that science hasn't discovered yet because they're too busy with vaccines. Real mothers can sense it. Update 2. It has been 1 week since my last update, and I finally decided to take matters into my own hands since the universe was being a bit slow. I did some detective work which involved looking at his sister's public Facebook photos and figured out exactly where Rodrigo is working now. I decided to show up at his office building with some voluntary recognition papers that I printed out from a website and filled out myself. I figured if I made the paperwork easy for him, he would have no excuse not to sign his life away to our new family unit. I waited outside the front entrance for 3 hours, braving the humidity because a true mother makes sacrifices for her child's future. When the clock struck 5, I saw him walking out, but my heart nearly stopped when I realized he wasn't heading toward the bus stop. He walked straight toward a beautiful silver sedan that was parked in a reserved spot and looked like it had just been waxed. I felt a wave of betrayal wash over me so strong, I almost fainted right there on the sidewalk. This man had a car, a whole entire sedan with 4 doors and probably great gas mileage. And he let me sit next to him on a public bus while I was pregnant? It's absolutely disgusting how much he has changed. He's hoarding air conditioning and leather seats while the mother of his spiritual child has to deal with bus breath and sticky floors. I realized then that he probably only rode the bus that day to mock me with his secret wealth. He wanted to see me low so he could feel high in his silver chariot. I didn't let him get away with it. Of course, I ran toward the car as he was backing out and started banging on the passenger window. I was shouting through the glass that our son didn't deserve to breathe exhaust fumes while his father was sitting in climate-controlled luxury. I held the recognition papers against the window so he could see that I was serious about our future. He looked at me with this cold, dead expression, like he didn't even recognize the woman who once walked through the rain with him. Instead of unlocking the door and offering me a ride to a fancy dinner to discuss the nursery theme, he reached for his phone. I thought for a second he was finally going to call me to apologize, but then I saw 2 burly security guards running toward me from the lobby. Rodrigo didn't even roll down the window, he just pointed at me like I was some kind of common street performer instead of his soulmate. The guards grabbed my arms and told me I had to leave the property immediately or they would call the police. I was screaming at the top of my lungs about the injustice of it all, telling the guards that they were interfering with a family reunion. Rodrigo just drove away, the silver paint of his car glinting in the sun like a middle finger pointed directly at my heart. I've never felt so disrespected in my entire life. He has clearly let a little bit of corporate success turn him into a monster. He forgot all about the days when we shared a single umbrella and dreamed of a future that didn't involve restraining orders. I sat on the curb after the guards let me go, just sobbing because of how much money has corrupted his soul. He's probably dating some girl who only likes him for his silver sedan, someone who doesn't understand the walking days like I do. I decided right then and there that I needed to remind him of his roots and where he truly belongs. He thinks he can just drive away from his responsibilities, but you can't outrun a woman who has manifestation power and a bus pass. When I got home, I told my mom that Rodrigo bought a car just for us, and that he was just too emotional to talk about it yet. She was so excited that she started looking for car seats that match silver interiors, which made me feel a little better. It's important to keep the positive energy flowing, even when the person you're manifesting is acting like a total villain. I know that car was actually a gift for the baby, and he's just waiting for the perfect moment to give me the keys. I also spent the evening looking at car insurance rates because I want to be prepared when he inevitably realizes that I should be the one driving the sedan. It's only fair considering I'm the one doing all the heavy lifting with the pregnancy while he just sits in an office. I'm starting to think his lawyer friend is actually just a jealous guy who wants the car for himself and is feeding Rodrigo lies about me. There is a massive conspiracy to keep us apart, but I am smarter than any office security guard. I realize that if I want to win him back, I need to use something he can't ignore: his own past. He used to be so humble and sweet, and I know that version of him is still in there somewhere, buried under the leather seats. I just need to find the right trigger to make him remember that he's the stable one who is supposed to rescue me from the motorcycle guys. I'm planning something big for the next few weeks that will finally force him to acknowledge his destiny in front of everyone. Update 2 comments. Anonymous user 1 says you chased his car and banged on the windows. Sis, that's not manifesting, that's a felony in the making. He called security because you're terrifying, not because he's corrupted by money. Ops reply, I was merely performing a vibration check on his vehicle. A father shouldn't be afraid of a little window tapping. It shows I have passion for our child's safety. Anonymous user 2 says the fact that you're looking at insurance for a car that isn't yours, for a man who isn't the father, is actually legendary levels of delusion. You need a therapist, not a sedan. Ops reply, therapies for people who don't have a plan. I have a plan, a printed contract, and a silver matching car seat. I'm light years ahead of you. Update 3. It has been 2 weeks since the car incident, and everything has completely exploded in a way that I can only describe as a cosmic glitch. I decided to use the motorcycle logic that originally brought me to Kauã finally win back Rodrigo once and for all. I organized a massive virtual gender reveal party on Facebook and invited every single person in our neighborhood, including Rodrigo's entire family. For the main image, I found an old photo of Kauã's motorcycle and used a photo editing app to add a giant cloud of bright blue smoke coming out of the exhaust. I captioned the post, "The velocity of the past has finally met the security of the future. Welcome to the world, Rodriguinho." I was so proud of that caption because it perfectly bridged the gap between my two worlds. I tagged Rodrigo so that his phone would blow up with notifications of people congratulating him on his new son. I figured that once the public pressure of a Rodriguinho was out there, he would have no choice but to accept the role and bring the silver sedan over for a visit. The boomerang effect, as some people call it, hit me faster than a speeding bike, but it didn't come from Rodrigo. It turns out that Kauã, the actual biological contributor, hadn't actually vanished into a secret racing league. He was just chilling in the next town over to avoid some debts. One of his friends saw my post and showed him the photo of his precious motorcycle being used to announce another man's mini-me. Kauã appeared at my front gate 3 hours later, and he was absolutely livid, but not for the reasons a normal person would be. He wasn't there to claim his son or offer me a ride on the bike. He was screaming about image rights and how I had no permission to use his motorcycle in a fake post. We had a massive shouting match right in front of my house, and all the neighbors came out to their porches like they were watching a soap opera. Kauã's yelling that he wasn't going to have his bike's reputation tarnished by being associated with a boring guy like Rodrigo. It was a complete mess of masculine ego that had nothing to do with the actual baby. Then the unthinkable happened. A silver sedan pulled up to the curb. For a split second, I thought Rodrigo was coming to save me from Kauã's shouting, but he didn't get out of the car alone. He stepped out with a man in a very expensive suit and a tablet in his hand. Rodrigo didn't even look at me. He just nodded to his lawyer, who started playing a video loudly so the whole street could hear. It was a compilation of my old TikToks from 2 years ago, the ones I made right after I dumped Rodrigo. In the videos, I was dancing on the back of Kauã's bike, saying things like, "A real woman needs high cylinders, not a bus pass, and Rodrigo is the past. Now I'm a passenger seat queen." Hearing my own voice echoing through the neighborhood while I stood there pregnant and being yelled at by a deadbeat biker was, well, it was a test of my character. Rodrigo showed the videos to a police officer who had just arrived because the neighbors called about the disturbing of the peace caused by Kauã. Rodrigo told the police that I was a troubled individual who was using his name to commit social media fraud and harassment. He had documentation of every message, every recognition paper I held against his car, and even the Rodriguinho post. The police told Kauã to go home and told me that if I didn't take down the post and stop contacting Rodrigo, they would take me to the station right then. I felt like the whole world was conspiring to make me look like the crazy one, just because I have a very creative way of solving problems. The worst part wasn't the police or the lawyer. It was the way Rodrigo looked at me before he got back into his car. He didn't look angry anymore. He looked at me with this deep, soul-crushing pity that hurt more than any restraining order ever could. It was like he was looking at a broken toy that he was finally glad he didn't have to fix. He drove away without saying a single word to me, leaving me standing there with my screaming ex and a crowd of neighbors who were now literally laughing at me. Everyone in the neighborhood has started calling me the motorcycle maniac, or the bike brain. And my mom is so embarrassed she won't even go to the bakery. I tried to explain to her that this is just a narrative arc and that the hero always faces a setback before the wedding, but she just locked herself in her room. I'm currently the victim of a very high-tech bullying campaign orchestrated by an ex-boyfriend who clearly spent a lot of money on a lawyer just to break my heart. I had to delete my Facebook account because the comments were becoming very vibrationally toxic, and I don't want the baby to sense that energy. I'm still convinced that if I hadn't used the motorcycle photo, Rodrigo would have reacted differently. It was the sign that was wrong, not the logic behind it. Now I'm just stuck here waiting for the dust to settle while the silver sedan continues to haunt my dreams like a ghost of a life I almost had. Update 3 comments. Anonymous user 1 says, Rodriguinho, with a photo of the other guy's bike, you literally gave him the evidence he needed to destroy you. This isn't a glitch. It's the consequences of your own actions coming for your wig. Oops reply, I was trying to create a bridge of understanding between the two fathers. It's not my fault they both have fragile egos and can't share a legacy. Anonymous user 2 says, seeing your own TikToks played back to you by a lawyer in front of the cops. That's the ultimate, this you? moment. Rodrigo is a legend for that. Oops reply, it's very low class to use someone's past artistic expressions against them. Those TikToks were performance art and shouldn't be taken literally. Update 4. It has been 4 months since the great explosion, and I am currently living in the spare room of my godmother's house because my mom said she needed a spiritual break from my presence. The pregnancy is getting very heavy, and I've had to sell most of my nice clothes just to afford the basic vitamins that Rodrigo should be paying for. Kauã, true to his motorcycle nature, ended up selling his bike to pay off some gambling debts and has vanished once again, probably to a different town with a different group of girls who still fall for the sound of an engine. I spent some time monitoring Rodrigo's life through a friend's Instagram, and it turns out he's already engaged to some girl who looks incredibly boring and safe. She has her own car, a sensible SUV, and apparently her own apartment, which just proves my theory that Rodrigo only likes people who already have money. He's not looking for a project or a soulmate. He's just looking for a business merger. It's very sad to see a man I once loved settle for someone so uninspired just because she has stability and no criminal record. A few weeks ago I felt a very strong sign that I should reach out one last time because the baby is due soon and I really don't want to take the bus to the hospital. I sent a very polite message through a new account asking if he could at least be my designated driver for the birth since his silver sedan passes right by my godmother's street every morning. I even told him I wouldn't charge him for the privilege of being the first one to hold the baby, which was a very generous offer considering the father-blood connection. In reply, of course. Instead, I got a formal letter in the mail reminding me that the restraining order is still very much in effect, and that any further contact would result in actual jail time. It is truly heartbreaking to see how the legal system is used to tear families apart instead of bringing them together. I was offering him a chance at redemption, a chance to be the hero in a silver sedan, and he chose to hide behind a piece of paper and a lawyer. I've realized lately that the world just isn't ready for someone with an advanced reasoning system like mine. Most people live their lives in a straight line. You meet, you stay together, you have a baby, but I see the world as a giant puzzle where you can move the pieces around to get the best result. I was just trying to do an upgrade on my son's life by combining the excitement of Kauã with the bank account of Rodrigo. If Rodrigo truly loved me, he would have seen the genius in that plan instead of getting the police involved. My godmother keeps telling me that I need to take responsibility and learn a lesson, but I honestly don't see what there is to learn, except that men are very fragile. I did everything I could to provide a high-status father for my child, and if the universe didn't want it to happen, that's on the universe, not me. I'm still the same glowing visionary woman I've always been. I'm just currently in a waiting period before my next big manifestation. The neighborhood still whispers when I walk to the bus stop, but I just put on my sunglasses and pretend I'm a celebrity avoiding the paparazzi. They call me the crazy bike lady, but I know that in reality they're just jealous that they don't have the courage to chase their dreams in a silver sedan. I've started a new TikTok account where I talk about parental manifestation and the physics of choice, and I already have 12 followers who really seem to get my vibe. Every time I hear a motorcycle go by, I feel a deep sense of Rano that I can't quite shake off. It reminds me of a time when I was naive enough to think that cool was more important than comprehensive coverage. But then I see a silver car and I feel a different kind of pain. The pain of a woman who was too ahead of her time for a man who was stuck in the present. I'm going to have this baby and I'm going to tell him that his father was a king who was stolen by this system. I've already started looking at the missed connections section of the local newspaper, just in case Rodrigo is trying to reach out to me secretly without his fiancée knowing. I'm sure he's miserable in that SUV, dreaming of the days when he had a girl with kinetic energy who was willing to fight for him at his office building. He'll realize his mistake eventually, probably when the baby starts looking exactly like him spiritually speaking. For now, I'm just focusing on myself and my Rodrigo. Even though the nurses keep telling me that's not the name on the paperwork. I know the truth, and the truth doesn't need a lawyer or a car to be real. I'm just a mother who tried to give her son the world, and if the world said no, then the world is the one that's going to regret it. I'll be the one laughing when I finally manifest a husband with a private jet, and Rodrigo will still be stuck in traffic in his little silver sedan.